Welcome back, guys. We're continuing on this week with our roll around utility cart. If you haven't seen that episode, I'll put a link up above. That'll get you up to speed. We also got a little laugh when I was able to get a telephone scammer to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Hi, this is Ken from eCard Services. How are you doing today?
Not bad, but it's still early.
On which card do you have the highest balance with the highest interest on?
Maybe my Victoria's Secret card. You like to party?
Party.
Oh, shorty, it's your birthday.
You're a Barbie girl.
Teach me some swear words. What do you know for swear words in your language?
Say banjo.
Ban? What is that?
That means sister.
Sister I want you to say thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Say that.
Thank you for liking, commenting, and what?
Subscribing. If you haven't seen that yet, check it out. So this is where we're at, guys, just to get you up to speed. It is 60 inches wide, 31 tall, and it's got 5-inch tall wheels. So that'll bring it up to 36 inches. Right now, this frame is upside down. That's the bottom. That's the top. What we need to work on right now is putting on these cross braces. We're going to put on that one that you see there and that one there, and that's what that is. In last week's episode, I showed you guys how to make a coped joint in the corners here. And a lot of you guys asked, well, why didn't you just do a miter joint? You know, just like a picture frame type of joint. Something like this at a 45-degree angle, and it would have been super easy to do with our cutoff chop saw. And much like a lot of the stuff that I talk about on the channel, I try to show different ways of doing something and still getting the job done. Cutting out a cope joint, in my opinion, doesn't have to be quite as precise as if you're cutting a 45-degree miter joint with, say, a hand angle grinder. When you're cutting a 45 with a hand grinder, you got to be real precise. And for you guys that are just starting out, maybe that's a little too difficult trying to get that perfect angle and holding it the whole time. 90-degree straight cuts, in my opinion, are a lot easier to cut. I guess it's just all preference, but it's good to know that there's more than one way of doing something, and I just try to show you different ways. If you like doing 45-degree miter corner cuts, by all means, go ahead and do them. But I just wanted to show you guys a different way of doing things. Because I want my casters to fit on here nice and smooth in flush, we're going to have to do a coped cut into this also. These casters I picked up, they're really nice. They're all swivel, ball bearing, and they're rated for like 300, I think like 330 pounds per caster. So combined, it'll be over 1,200 pounds that these casters will hold on this bench, and that is plenty for what we need to do. This is how the top is going to set on there, but obviously to get that caster to sit flat, I need to have this piece of angle lowered, so we're going to cope out this corner. Now, let me show you, you can even do this without even measuring. All I need to do is put a little mark right there, just like that, and this is the piece we're going to cut out. Go down and do the same thing on the other side. All I got to do is make sure that I've got this flush on the outside, and then just come up here and make a line right there, and we will chop out that right there. So it's going to go something like that and then like that. And that's the line right there. So I'll cut along this, and then I'll just flip it over and do on the underneath. I'd probably have this oriented a little bit different, but for videoing, I think it's easier for you guys to see like this. I just rotated it so you guys could see me cut this piece out. So now I'm just going to hold this disc parallel to this. Now, as I mentioned in last week's video, what I'm using for this is a diamond cutoff disc. This is made by a company called Graph Black, and I actually like this disc a lot. Comparatively in price, it's very similar to ones that you're probably familiar with at the big box store. But what I like about this is that it has a continuous rim. It doesn't have the cutout segments like the other ones. A lot of guys complain that this type of blade gets jumpy because these segments that are open to keep the blade cool, they cause the blade to jump around. You don't get that with this, so for that reason I kind of like this blade much better than this type. Now we just got to do the other side, same as the first side that we just did. And these blades cut extremely fast. Now you can see how high up this is to me to work on it. So I'm actually having to kind of like work with my arms up in the air. So that's the great thing about having an adjustable height lift. I'll have links down below if you're interested, but yeah, it's super handy because I can change the height of the table to suit the project I'm working on. So right now I'm going to lower this table just so I can have a better access to the top. And all I got to do that is I got an airline hanging over the top, and this is a foot pedal, and I just mounted it to the side of the lift because it's more handy for me, so it's not dragging on the ground. Just stab that on there, then you push up to lift the table, so that goes up. Then I just pull this handle right here. What that does is it releases that orange piece off those catches, gets it out of the way so I can lower the table down. Then all I do is just push down on this lever right here. And it'll start going down, and then I just find a height that I want it to sit at, and I'm thinking probably like right there is a good height. There. And it is. So that's how easy it is. So now you can see my lift is way lower off the floor, but now this is at a nice comfortable level that I can get to. Being comfortable is a huge key to doing a good job welding. If you're uncomfortable, your weld is not going to come out as good as a weld that if you were just sitting nice and comfortable, nice and relaxed, that you can just lay down a nice bead, just the way it is. Hold that at the right height, clamp her down. Go to the other side, do the same thing. Make sure that's nice and flush right there, which it is. Clamp her up. There. Now that caster will fit nice and flush on that corner. So now we'll be able to get a bead of weld there, and we can do one right here if we want to. We can go all the way around it if we wanted to, but I don't think it's going to be necessary to weld all the way around. And here's the other side. And on this side of the joint right here, you'd want to bevel that back just a little bit to give yourself a place for that weld puddle to go. That's just good practice. You should be doing that anyways. Now I'm going to get a couple quick tacks on it, then we'll move on to the other side. For this process, I'm using Flux core self-shielded wire. If you want to know more about the settings and all the other stuff, we talk about that in last week's episode, and I've already put a link up above, and I'll also have it down in the description. And because I want the casters to sit flush on here, we're going to have to grind down the welds on the bottom. That'll only take a second. Alright, we just got to cope out this side, and then we can get the casters on, and we're making good progress, guys. We've got to cut out that. We're going to cut out that. You know, another advantage to these diamond cutoff wheels is that the size is always the same, as opposed to like an abrasive grit disc. You know, when those abrasive wheels wear down, it gets smaller, so you can't reach in as far. These, they always stay the same size. And this is the same idea, just like the other one, making everything flush. Clamp it together. Oh, we got to squeeze this one shut a little bit. So, we got a little bit of a gap. You see how we're pretty tight on this side? I'll come down here. So this leg obviously is canted out a little bit. And it's showing right there. We got a little bit of a gap there. And this is short to the end. So we got to squeeze that together. And I don't have a clamp long enough, so I'll probably use maybe like a ratchet strap, or maybe I can just force it with brute strength. I'll give it a try with brute strength first, and we'll see what happens. Oh yeah, piece of cake. Yeah. Not a problem. That was easy. Alright, we're good. Now I'm going to weld out this and this. Same thing on the other side. Then we'll grind all four corners, and you could bolt on your casters. I'm just going to weld them. So I have no ever plans of replacing them. It's only going to probably be moving 2 or 3 feet at a time, so it'll last forever. So I'm not bolting them on. Yeah, we're all welded out everywhere. Now I just got to, like I said, grind out the corners to make that nice and flush. And then we can put our casters on and then flip it over and continue our build. And like I said, if you build this and you want to bolt your casters on yourself, have at it. You can bolt them on. You can do it however you want it. Pop rivet them if you want, whatever. But for this, I am going to weld them on. I'm going to hold it back, oh, I don't know, roughly 1/8 of an inch all the way around. It's not going to have something right here, but it's not going to need it. That's going to be fine. So I think that's all I'm going to do. It doesn't really need any more than that. Just doing on the ends. Scrape it back. Hard doing this with one hand, but yeah. That's why I brush those down before we get ready to paint everything. Now that we've got all the wheels on it, it's time to flip it over and get the drawers lined up. But before I flip it, I'm going to go through and I'm just going to weld each of these corners out, because all we got in them right now is just tack. So. This is what's called a bird's nest, and I don't know if you guys could see it happen, but what happened is I got the wire stuck on that side, and obviously my drive roll is just a little too snug here, so it's caused the wire to ball up, or bird's nest. So you see what that did? It actually broke the wire off too. So what I got to do is I got to refeed my wire down through my liner. You can see how it snapped it right off. So So yeah, these are just problems that you encounter welding. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take off our tip. Then I cut the wire, and now we're just going to pull our wire through the liner. A couple things can cause this. As you weld, the hole inside of this nozzle gets smaller, it gets tighter, so that can cause it to bird's nest. And also, yeah, see, that's fitting real tight down through there, so it's probably time for a new tip. But if you're cheap like me, one of the workarounds is this is just a tip cleaner for Oxy-Acetylene tips. So you take your tip cleaner and you can just run this right down inside your nozzle, and that'll get out any spatter, and it'll just clean it up, and it'll be good to go for even longer. I have new tips for it, but I usually like to try to get a little bit more consumable life out of it if I can. So I'll run a tip cleaner down through it, and she will do just fine now. Now I'm just going to cut off this ratty end where it all balled up, drag it back, and feed it into the liner. Then after I was done cleaning out the inside of that, I just took a little Scotch-Brite, cleaned the outside. Now we'll thread her back in, put some nozzle jelly on it, and call her a day. This stuff right here, I like to just smear a little bit of it on, and it keeps spatter from sticking to all these components right here. So makes it clean up real easy. This also works great when you're doing MIG welding. Keeps any of the spatter from building up inside the nozzle. So another consideration when you're welding, did you notice how where I was positioned, the welding smoke is running right in directly into my hood? When you can, try to position your head out of the smoke. A tendency with newer welders is to, get yourself right down there. Try practicing keeping your head a little bit further away and out of that welding smoke. It'll do a little bit better for you. Normally I wear a respirator when I'm doing this stuff, but I've got my ventilation in the shop going right now, so it's not necessary. But yeah, just be careful about what you're breathing in. Let's flip this juliper over and start working on getting the drawers in it. And now, while I got it up in the air like this, now I'll go through while I'm nice and comfortable, and I'll weld it here, and I'll throw on another weld here. It's just a lot easier if you can weld in position rather than welding overhead, Obviously you try to set things up so it's easiest for you. So I'll go all around, and I'll do the same thing down here in those corners. Then we'll lower it down, and we'll start getting these shelves in. We're all welded up now, all the way around. Now if you wanted to, you could go vertical here and weld it all the way around. But like I said, it's really not necessary for what we're doing here. You could weld vertical down there. You could just do all of it. But like I said, it's really not necessary. This is a laundry utility cart. But if you were making it as a welding table, yeah, I probably would. You know what I mean? But hard doing this one-handed. You really can't see much. Let me get a wire brush. Still got a little bit of garbage at the toe of the weld, but you can get an idea of what it looks like. So what we'll do, guys, is we'll get this all mocked up and get the drawers in it and get it to where it's ready to be basically painted, and then we'll go back through after and we'll chip all the slag off, wire brush it, clean any of the BBs off. That's kind of how I like to do it, but you can do it. You can clean it as you go if you want, but I like to just do it in the end and get it over with. So this is the part where I just start winging it. So what we're going to do is 3 drawers, and one of them is a little bit thinner than the rest just because that's what I've got. So that's going to be a deeper drawer, a thinner drawer in the middle, and then a deeper drawer to the right. And all of them have like this dadoed out groove for this piece to ride in, and that's how the drawer slides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a piece of this 5/4 board to the side of this. Like I say, I'm just kind of making this up as I go, so I might not completely know what I'm doing quite yet, but I got somewhat of an idea, but I'm just not quite there. So I'm going to tack this piece onto this, okay, and then the back end of that will be supported by that cross piece, and then the front piece is going to need a little brace there, and then one between this drawer here, one between that drawer there. So it'll probably make a little bit better sense as I go. But for right now, I'm going to glue up this. I'm going to just shoot a few tacks in it, and then afterwards I'll countersink some screws just to help strengthen it a little bit. There, then that will sit something like this, and the left side of the drawer will slide in that. That makes sense? And then there'll be just a little short piece right here to hold up this edge. And then it'll be the same thing. There's going to be a little piece in the middle between these drawers, and then the same thing here. So there'll be a drawer here. We're going to center them. There'll be a drawer here, here, and here. And then for this drawer, I'm going to put back to back of these little pieces. So there'll be one here, okay? And then in between this, I'm going to do one of those thicker pieces of 5/4 board, like that, okay? And then I'm going to put another one of these here, which will catch the middle drawer. So then I'll just have a little post right here holding up this section right here for this piece of the drawer. So I think it should work out pretty good, and it should look pretty good when it's done too. And for nails, I'm just using 2-inch brads that I have. This might start making a little more sense. So now this will have a little brace under this side. The back side's already supported, as you can see, so there'll be a little piece under that to keep that up, and then the next drawer will slide right into this. And this is that drawer that I said was off a little bit in height. It's a little different than the rest. I don't think you'll see it because the top's going to overhang quite a bit all the way around because of that island top, so we'll see. So now I'm going to do one more of this setup that we just built here out of wood, and then we can get this thing finished up. So this is where we're at. I've got the back piece on. Now you can see how that is actually working. These pieces right here are actually just sitting on this. It's just resting there. So and that gives you a better idea of what's going on. So like that center drawer right now, that's automatically being held up under its own weight. You know what I mean? Just because of these. So, yeah. You can see now that the front of the drawers are touching on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a piece of angle from here to here. And then I'm going to put a little stop underneath it. And what that's going to do is that's going to raise this drawer off just a little bit. And that'll make it perfectly level all the way across. Then we'll do the same thing in the middle. There'll be a little, I'll use a piece of square stock that goes from here up just to lift these drawers just ever so slightly. They just got to go up just a little bit. That's it. These need to be just a little over 3 inches, but I'm going to use some square tube. But if I just go slapping that up there like that, what's going to happen is that eventually that's going to push up into that wood and it's going to wear out. So I'm going to make a little small pad out of some 1.5 inches right here. So I think that'll work a little bit better as well. Ooh, she's hot. She's steaming. Oh, she's steaming. There we go. She's a steamer. There, you see how that raised that off the bottom? You can see now how there's that little gap right up under there. And then this acts as a pad so that it doesn't wear into the wood. And now we'll put a piece of angle. So we'll tack this and then put a piece of angle right over the front, and that'll keep this from spreading outwards as well. And then we'll also be able to get a little tack behind it right here. You'll understand it here. I know it's probably a little complicated looking at it, trying to figure it out, but it'll be real apparent here pretty soon. Now we've got these on. They can't go side to side. We've got the piece in the back that's holding it up so it can't drop down, so it's holding it off the bottom. Now what we got to do is put a little tack here, in here, so that does the same thing for the middle, keeping that off the ground. And then we just got to put a little stop in the back to keep this from spreading open. So I got these welded in. Now you can see how this is completely suspended. Drawers work nice, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie now this to this, and I'm going to put a strap across it. That'll keep this from sliding out forward also. You know, after a while you could get a lot of weight in this, you know, whatever. You gold bullion or craft beads or whatever it is you're going to be putting in this thing, but yeah, I'm going to put that strap kind of like that. It'll kind of give it a little bit of a cleaner look, I think, and it'll also help tie the top to the bottom. We're also going to do the same thing on the back side. I'm just going to put one in the middle on the back just to help reinforce that. Probably doesn't need it, but I'm going to do it just to be certain. Another thing you could do is you could put like some paraffin wax on those runners. The things would run real smooth. Yeah, these work nice. Nice and smooth, no real effort. I mean, not as good as ball bearing rollers, but It's pretty good. I've now got everything all welded out, and what I got to do next is get off like all these little BBs that you see everywhere. And the way I do that is I use what is considered a painting tool. It's called like a 3-in-1 or a 5-in-1 tool. It's made for painting, but I always use it to remove BBs because the thing works great. And it has a little metal end here, so you could always tap it with a hammer if you can't get your BBs off. And what I do is, you see how there's a bunch of BBs there? I just run just like that. I just think it's a lot quicker than using a chip and hammer to do it. So I'm going to go over it with this real quick, and then I'm going to wire brush all my welds, and then we're going to paint it. And here it is, guys. I am super happy how this came out. Changed it a little bit. We didn't do the cantilever overhang all on one side. My wife kind of wanted it balanced out, so that's what we did. We just hand painted the frame black with some Rust-Oleum paint. And for the drawer slides, all I did is I just scuffed them up with a red Scotch-Brite and just blew on a coat of clear on top. And that's it. But yeah, super awesome. These are nicely constructed drawers too. So yeah, so this will make a nice craft table. It's gonna be real happy. I think at some point we will put a bottom on there, but I'm not quite sure. It might be out of that, but for right now, I think we're just gonna leave it. And be sure to tune in next week where we are going to install some upgraded lighting in that laundry room. New videos every Friday. I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. If this is something that you like, please don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Until next Friday, guys, I will see you then. Take care. Stay safe. See ya.